Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Raysong. We are back with our Sims Medieval and time to start a new quest. So we have Missing Child, Crab Bandit, Wedding, Book Burning, The Fisherman's Challenge, War Games, and Legend of the Talking Frog. Let's see. I guess let's do book burning. Great bonfires lit up the night sky in Tudorville. The hearty but angered yells of the peasantry filled the air. The great book purge had begun. Seemingly overnight, a large number of lower class had suddenly taken to disposing of books through fire, a practice that was frowned upon by the throne. There had to be a way to make them see the error of their ways. Could a hero rise to save the written word? Okay, and we can't choose scary stories because we don't have the bard. So it's the literacy program. Alright, so while no one was certain just what caused this book-based outrage, there was a possible solution that would help everyone involved. If the kingdom could find the resources and time to teach these peasants to read and teach them the value of books, they might think differently about setting them on fire. And we're gonna go with Lord Henry. Alright, so last night, as Lord Henry the Great cast one final look outside his window before retiring to bed, he'd noticed an odd glow coming from the forest. And now, rumors of a group of peasants who were reveling in the joy of burning a large quantity of books had reached his ears. It was unsettling, to say the least. Lord Henry the Great would venture out to the forest to see what the trouble was. So we... Is that her wife? I don't remember. Oh no, this is our wife. Okay. So let's venture out to the forest. And investigate the burnings. Alright, as Lord Henry the Great stumbled into the clearing, he could already feel the warmth of the fire on his face. Many books were there, and they were all ablaze. Henry stared in wonder at the people assembled and wondered how they could be so cheerful, so united in their hatred of the written word. As the fire began to burn out and the peasants began to return to town, Lord Henry the Great followed them, eager to accost them and demand to know what they were why they were doing this. So we have to kind of get to know them a little bit and get a higher relationship with them before we're going to be able to ask them about the books. Ah, now we can ask them about the book burning. Well, Governor, I can nary read a thing, so what are the use of books to us then? No use. The fire helps give us all a nice little cookout, though. Pretty delicious, if you ask me. Alright, so now we have to go write a new literacy law. So let us go home. And before we write that law, we're going to sleep. Make some bear soup. Perfect. Now let's go downstairs and write a new literacy law. And then we have to write a treaty of ongoing peace, and then we have to go hunt a bear. We still have to do our kingdom stuff. There, that should do it. Now to go visit my peasant friends and see how much I've enriched their lives. Now we're just gonna go get our hunt done. Henry tracked down a large black forest bear to its feeding ground. Surprising the animal, he dispatched the furry honey lover with a single blow, carving out 4 chunks of bear meat to take home. Perfect. Let's go talk about the literacy law. Oh, come now, Governor. You really didn't think a simple law would be enough, would just be able to change the educational system of the entire kingdom's peasants, do you? We can't afford to teach ourselves literacy, what with our daily back-breaking work. The only hope would be hiring some real teachers. Alright, so which teachers should the kingdom hire? Domestic teachers or foreign teachers? Let's choose domestic teachers. Keeping the job in Tutorville will help instill confidence in our local professionals. I remember seeing one of the local professors in the town square earlier this week. He may spend most of his day there. So we have to offer the teaching job to Professor Jacob. A tempting offer, but I would do well enough on my own, teaching the odd noble or peasant a thing or two. To get me really excited, I'd need to be promised some land. If you can arrange a local duchy for me, I'd be more willing to teach your peasants. Alright, so as the royal advisor, about the duchy. We are currently all out of free duchies to give away. There is one parcel of land on the edge of Crafthole, but it's recently been overrun by barbarians. You'll have to drive them out if you want to make it a true duchy. Alright, so let's plan battle on the barbarians. Alright. The battle plan is solid. Now I simply need to lead an attack on the barbarians. Attacking from the cover of the forest should give us the tactical advantage. So we need to go to the forest and drive out the barbarians. The forest is this way. Walking along, Lord Henry the Great looked up to see a gnarled dwarf of a man approaching from the other direction. When he got close, he opened his ratty jacket to reveal some ancient books. Books for sale, he croaked, the rarest and most valuable in the land. You'd be a fool to pass up a deal like this. So we can buy a book. Never one to pass up a good deal. Henry would give the man his money and see if a book of his might be useful. Or we could pass. The salesman sounded pretty shady. Henry wouldn't waste his money on such an obvious scam. Let's buy a book. The dwarf grinned and Lord Henry took... Oh, hang on. Pause. So the dwarf grinned and took Lord Henry the Great's money. You shan't be disappointed. I'll give you a free sample of my other wares, he said as he pulled out the oldest and most ragged of his books and handed it over. The book filled Henry with a feeling of gloom as he touched it. I would imagine a smith of some skill would find that book most interesting, the little man shouted over his shoulder as he darted away. So we received the Manual of Blacksmithing, Sword of the Chinchilla, and received the Manual of Blacksmithing, the Cursed Doom Sword. The battle was a success, and the land had been returned to its rightful owner, me. If I hand this newly conquered duchy over to Professor Jacob, he has promised to teach the Tudorville peasants. So let's give him the duchy. I'm extremely grateful for all you have done for me so far. One last thing. Do you mind buying a reading primer from the village shop for me? With it, I can begin my literacy classes in earnest. Alright, so we have to buy a reading primer. And let's go to the village shop. You know what? While we're here, let's buy some fish, some boar meat, a pigeon. we go. I've purchased the book and need to give it back to Professor Jacob now. As Lord Henry the Great made his way through the crowded streets, he saw a seedy-looking man calling out to him. The little man gave his pet boar a pat on the head and flashed a toothless grin. He held up some seashells and a pearl. Let's make a bet. 50 golden simoles says you can't find the pearl. Lord Henry can place the bet. Lord Henry the Great laughed defiantly. He would accept the challenge of the shell game man, or we can refuse the bet. The man looked sketchy, very much so. Perhaps it was better to save the gold and avoid potential trickery. We have a lot, so we're going to place the bet. Lord Henry the Great slapped the gold simoles on the gambler's makeshift table. The toothless con man held up a pearl, gave a derisive crackle, and cupped it swiftly under one of his shells. The shells moved swiftly, but their speed could not match Henry's eyes. The gambler sighed as Henry identified the correct shell and walked off with double his gold. All right. So now we have to give the reading primer to the priest, and we're also going to equip that. Thank you. I should have everything I need now. I'll begin to set up my outdoor classroom in the local forest. Why don't you collect some peasants for me and meet me there for the first lesson? All right. Send to forest. Send to forest. Send to forest. You actually managed to get a real teacher. I'll head over to the forest right away. How exciting. I've always wanted to learn to read and write. Will we be able to read books on our own after this? What a world that would be, my lord. So now we have to go to the forest. The peasants are on their way to the forest now. I should head over there, introduce their teacher to them, and maybe even help teach the first lesson to ensure it goes well. Lord Henry the Great walked into the forest clearing to find the peasants had already gathered and that the teacher was eagerly handing out lesson books to the students. Henry smiled and introduced the teacher to the peasants, and the lesson began in earnest. Soon everyone was sounding out new sounds and words and seemed to be having a good time. So we completed the book burning quest. And there we go. So Lord Henry the Great looked over his kingdom with a smile. The fires in the forest had stopped and the peasants had been happily brushing up on their reading skills. In fact, Susanna, one of the peasants who had been destroying the books just a few days ago, had come to personally thank Henry for helping her learn how to read. Making education a priority worked. And there we go. clinic and the wizard's tower and all of that stuff. So, that is that. And we will be back with a new quest next time. Don't forget, I post my videos every single day, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and TTFN.